Did you finish up your PhD?
No, I told him to stuff it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see, but you stayed with the research.
Stayed with the research and went out to the Nevada test site and discovered that they didn't know anything about what was going on out there. It was a terrible mess. They were shooting bombs off underground, and the drillers were drilling back down into those real hot pockets of radioactivity with drill rigs, and all kinds of radioactive gases were coming up, and they were working in an environment that was exposing them to 5 orders of magnitude over the maximum permissible concentrations. So I helped them clean up their act in the drill back operations and started a whole new program of radiation safety at the Nevada test site. So I spent about...
I mean, you were working with the government again.
I was working for the government or their prime subcontractors, direct either one or the other, but it was all government funded, 10 years on that frontier.
Wow.
57 to 67.
And then what happened?
Then I got disgusted with the United States government because all the truth we discovered they classified and covered up and wouldn't let the people know what was going on. And I figured, well, I'm working for the wrong side, My business was discovering fact and revealing truth, and all the truth was getting covered up. And the straw that broke the camel's back was after finding out what we found out in the Marshall Islands, I predicted there would be an awful lot of people in Utah and Nevada and all around the Nevada test site with thyroid problems and other problems based on the weapons testing of the past. So the U.S. Public Health Service sent a team out in the field, and they discovered more than they wanted to discover, and it blew everybody's mind, so they just kind of covered everything up and backed down. And I decided that's when I left the government. I figured they didn't really appreciate the truth. So, and that's all I really gave a shit about, was the truth and the facts of life. So I quit working for the U.S. government and headed for the San Francisco Bay Area in the summer of '67, which was the summer of love. And it was unbelievable. I had no idea what was going on in the outside world. And,
how old were you then?
Let's see, '67. I was 32.
And so you hadn't had a family yet or anything?
Well, by then I had 2 boys and a girl.
Oh, okay.
And they were young. My wife and I had split up. My job, I gave too much to my job and lost my family, so to speak.
So did the government give you a golden parachute when you left?
Shit, man. They owed me so much money in terms of what do you call comp time. I said, no, all your money, you can stuff it. I'm working with the wrong people, so I figured I'd go up to San Francisco Bay Area and teach high school for a couple of years, and maybe go back and get a PhD in education and try to do some effects inside from the educational approach. So when I get into Marin County, California, which is where I moved to, started teaching high school there in the fall of '67, and all the young kids wanted to do was talk about sex, drugs, rock and roll, and I didn't know anything about drugs of any kind other than booze. And,
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I'd never been around pot, and here all the kids are telling me, Mr. Kimmel, you got to try this marijuana, it's really good.
Really? They tell you that?
Oh, yeah.
These are your students?
My students, yeah.
Oh, your students corrupted you.
My students turned me on. Thank God. I was a real hardcore atheist at the time.
Oh, really?
And they loved to argue with me philosophically over there is a God or there isn't, and so forth and so on. So by the end of the first semester in December of '67, I decided, well, my kids had my back up against the wall, because when they discovered I had a bachelor's and a master's in botany and plant pathology, well, what do you think of marijuana, Mr. Kimmel? I said, I don't know anything about it except for the fact that in economic botany I had learned that it had a great past in terms of hemp and rope and fiber and all the things that it was being used for in the ships, but I didn't know anything about smoking it. I'd never seen a plant, never talked to anybody that ever smoked it except these young high school students. So I decided they had something they were trying to tell me, and I figured, old Doc Wolf had told me, he said, it's about truth, and they had my back against the wall, so I had to discover the truth about pot, and they told me, well, the only way you're going to find out the truth about pot, Mr. Kimmel, is to try some. So over Christmas vacation, 67, I tried some. And I first joint I smoked nothing. Couldn't tell a thing.
Did your students turn you on to it?
Yep.
And do you want to tell us a little more about that?
Well, I'd walk in my classroom and open the desk drawer, and there'd be a joint in my desk drawer, maybe sometimes 2 or 3 of them. So,
Really?
yeah.
They were subtle,
They
eh?
were really trying to tell me something. So,
I see. So you finally smoked on it.
about the second joint, I couldn't tell anything. I couldn't feel anything. The third joint, I'm going to find out. I took a great big toke, held my breath. The next thing you know, I'd passed out and woke up on the floor.
No kidding.
Because I held my breath, and then I took a big, deep toke, and it just knocked me right out. And when I came to, I was high. So, now I know what you're talking about. Now I know why they call it high.
Yeah.
So after that, it was a matter of going back to school after the vacation, and the first thing, of course, they wanted to know, hey, Mr. Kimmel, did you try any pot over the holidays? I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I did. Oh, boy, from that point on, it was every day they'd be leaving a couple, 3 joints in my desk drawer. And
Wow.
So that's how I got started.
Well, do you think your students were good students?
They were excellent students. Yeah,
And you were teaching botany or what?
well, I was teaching human biology and algebra the first year, and the second year I was teaching physics and earth science and human biology. And so I had a cross section of students from the slowest to the brightest, and I found they could all absorb the truth if you presented it to them in a simple way, and it didn't matter who they were, whether it was the smartest or the dumbest. They could all understand the facts and the truth of life if it was explained clearly to them. And they all knew I was smoking it. In fact, we were smoking together by that time, because in the summer of '68.
You and the students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't see that. I told them, well, how come everybody isn't smoking this stuff?
Really?
It was great. I mean, I never had so much fun and never felt so good, and the next day never had a hangover. Whereas with booze and beer, man, I had some terrible hangovers, and I was so glad to find something that was better than booze, and replaced it all together. I didn't even drink anymore because I had had enough hangovers.
And what high school is this?
This was Novato High School.
And where's that?
Novato is in Marin County.
Oh, okay, in Marin County.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, across the bridge from San Francisco.
Yeah, okay. I know where you mean there.
So it was
Did you teach swimming too?
yeah, I was a coach on the swimming team.
No kidding.
First year we got the championship for the whole area, and that had never been accomplished before. So that was real good fun. Then the summer school, the summer of '68, I had a chance to teach a class in anthropology, and twice a week for a laboratory, we went down the road to a place called Miller Creek, where the Miwok Indians had lived, and we did a dig on a Miwok Indian mound with the archaeology and anthropology students. So,
Oh, wow, how neat.
It was fabulous. So these kids taught me an awful lot that summer. I learned an awful lot from my students that summer. We get to the dig site, and the kids would roll up a couple, 3 joints, and we smoke them up, and then we get into the dig.
Oh, really?
So it was great.
It's funny, that one of the big scandals that you hear about in the paper or on the local news ever so often is a high school teacher getting caught with marijuana. Not necessarily doing anything with students, but just the whole idea that a high school teacher would contaminate the minds of those poor little high school students. You know?
Those poor little high school students, thank God, contaminated my mind with the truth that they had discovered from their experience in life. And
by the way, just back to your swimming for a second. How far did you get as a swimmer in the? Did you win the regional?
on the state level, high school level?
Yeah,
I won several state championships.
You won several state championships.
Yeah, gold medal. I had a lot of gold medals.
No kidding. Did you go to the Olympics?
Oh, I tried out for the Olympics in '52 and '56, but I didn't quite make it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Good fun
Well,
trying though.
Yeah.